Okay, we have something that is really exciting going on in this month of June, but we're really already feeling the energies of this already. And I'm changed locations today, and we're actually shooting this in a kitchen just because of a lot of themes that were going on. And I got the message, I got the download that I needed to shoot this in the kitchen so that you could really get the full messages coming to you for this video. So if you don't know me, if this is the first time we're interacting, my name is Tori Sachs. I am an alignment alchemist. That simply means that for me, alignment is where healing meets guidance, meets wisdom and guidance given to you. And I am an alchemist in the sense that I blend a variety of Eastern modalities of energetics to help bring you, to help bring spaces, to help bring animals, really anything that holds energy into alignment. And so I meet you where you're at. And one of the modalities that I work with is astrology, specifically Vedic astrology that it does come from the Vedas, but also another word is Vedic astrology or Jyotish or even Eastern astrology. So with that, we use the sidereal method, which sidereal means coming from the stars, and Jyotish literally means in Vedic astrology, it literally means the eyes of the Vedas. So it has this connotation where we're using the wisdom of the celestial energies to help really move us in the right direction and help align our karma and help align us so that we understand our soul's purpose, our journey, and really what we are meant to do. And so, with that, let's dive in today on Jupiter sidereally moving into the sign of Cancer. And that's also why we're in a kitchen because Cancer and this transit is going to be very nurturing. And Cancer is the sign of the nurturer. So, up until about June 1st, 2nd, depending on where you are, Jupiter has been transiting in the sign of Gemini. And depending on where this hits your chart, depending on where your Jupiter is placed, and depending on your ascendant, what planets Jupiter rules for you, this will have a very different flavor. So, just to kind of recap for you, if you're like, I don't really know astrology, but you want to learn more. So, just to recap, Jupiter is seen as one of the great benefics. Venus is the other great benefic that we talk, or benefic, benevolent planet that we talk about. But Jupiter is the great benefic. He is all about growth and expansion. And all of these things I want to talk to you about and tell you today, there is a higher and a lower expression. So just remember, if Jupiter is transiting in a certain place or he is encountering certain things on his journey, like we encounter on journeys, he can expand things that are helpful and harmful. But again, all of these things, whether it's the lower expression that maybe at face value or at first feels really intense, feels activating, feels like a lot, it's all for our highest good. It's all for our soul's progression and expansion on the path. So I always want to say that we talk a lot, especially when we're talking about growth and expansion, that he expands good things and not so great things. So, put that in the lens again, depending on where this is hitting your chart and how, like, if it's interacting with other planets. But again, so he is seen as the celestial guru, the celestial guide, the celestial teacher. He is also seen as an advisor. A lot of times we talk in kind of the area of the zodiac, we talk about him being like the celestial advisor to kings or the gods, right? He is also a strategist. He rules every single Thursday of the year. So you might notice during this transit that starts on June 2nd officially that maybe you're feeling this buoyancy that you hadn't felt in a really long time on a Thursday specifically. He is the color yellow. Um, so, maybe you're getting more connected, and we'll talk a little bit more about this deeper in the transit, but maybe you're getting even more connected to the color yellow or, ascended masters or guides that are yellow. Yellow is also a color that is connected to optimism. He is a planet that brings optimism, brings positivity in our chart, in our lives. So he's also with that color yellow again, can be connected to Christ consciousness. If you work with Christianity, or maybe in the lens of him being an ascended master that helps you on your path, as one way that helps you on your path. Um, and we'll talk more about it, but there is some relation with Jupiter and priests as well. Jupiter rules the signs of Pisces and the sign of Sagittarius. And so, but he is the happiest in the sign of Cancer. We call it him being exalted, but I really won't go into that too much because there's so much around exalted planets, and we'll talk about that later. But he is honestly the happiest. He's like all about ready to have a party. He is the most comfortable in the sign of Cancer. And so he will be transiting in the sign of Cancer, like I said, starting on June 2nd or June 1st, I should say, around, I think Central Time is like around 3:20, something around that time. So depending on where you are, it might fall on the 2nd, and he will be transiting through the sign of Cancer until October 31st. And then he will go into Leo for a little bit. And then in 2027, he will finish up his transit in Cancer. He'll retrograde back into Cancer, and he'll finish this off. And Jupiter transits are about a year to 13 months long, and it takes him 12 years to get from one point of the zodiac to then return to that same place. So, like I said, because he takes about that 1 year to 13 months in each sign of a zodiac, and sometimes it's split, with the Gregorian calendar, how that looks, but he takes that long. Jupiter in Cancer, then you are going through what will be called a Jupiter return. So that's the high level, and within each sign in Vedic astrology and Jyotish, there are what's called nakshatras and lunar mansions. And these lunar mansions help give us more themes, more ideas about what we will encounter when a planet is transiting that sign. And because Jupiter is taking a longer time, he is also in charge of beliefs as well, some of the beliefs that we hold. This is also going to help us determine that maybe there might be changes in beliefs, because now he is moving from a very mental sign, a very airy sign, a very Vata sign, like up in the clouds. And now he is moving into a sign that is about nourishment. It has the nakshatra that is literally called the nourisher. And this is also a sign that is more about the emotional body. So we really were focused more on the nervous system and the mental body. And then we move into shining a light and really having more of a focal point on the emotional side of things. And so, with that, just to give you a little recap, if you're like, hey, I don't actually even know about the sign of Cancer that much. So, Cancer, that's why we're in the kitchen, because Cancer is connected to the kitchen. It's connected to the natural fourth house, which in astrology, we look at the fourth house as being a kitchen. Cancers can be, but Cancer energy, I'll just say that much. Cancer energy is about nourishing, is about food, is about feeding, is about comfort. It's all about comfort. It's connected to the womb, it's connected to the mother. We look at the fourth house as being the mother. It's connected to the mother's milk and that mother giving, or typically giving comfort. And so this sign is all about really comfort and on the emotional level because it is a water sign. And so it's connected to the moon as the moon being the ruler of Cancer. It is connected to emotions. And so the waves, the coming and going of waves and the coming and going of the emotions and really moving through the emotional waves where before in Gemini, we're all in the head. We're moving from one thing to another. There's been a lot of overthinking, a lot of over analyzing. I'd say it's been a time of like a lot of rumination. And with Jupiter there expanding that, right? When we talked about expansion and growth, we felt a lot of that rumination. Cancer, again, because it is connected to the crab in that outer shell, but it's also connected to mothers is it's a very protective sign. And so a mother protects their young, a mother typically protects their children as the higher expression. And so we will start seeing those themes come up as a high level throughout this whole Jupiter transit, but then also especially during certain areas of this Jupiter transit, I would say there's probably a little like extra flair just because of the themes of those nakshatras. So, like I said, there are three nakshatras that Jupiter will be moving through when he is in the sign of Cancer. And he is currently in Punravasu, which spans Gemini and Cancer. It's a little bit, it will finish on about June 18th, June 19th. He will finish. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited for that's another date I've been starring. I've been highlighting, I circled on my calendar because he has been in Punravasu for 10 months. But I will say the flavoring in Cancer with Punravasu is has a very different energy. Even though those themes are going to be similar, it's a very different energy. So he will be in Punravasu, continue to be in Punravasu until the 18th. So really like once he moves over, we only have about 18, 19 days, 17 to 19 days with that. And then he'll move into Pushya. That is the second nakshatra that is fully encased in Cancer. And then he will finish up in Ashlesha. That is the third and final nakshatra. And that's where also he will be retrograde after he moves into Leo for a little bit and moves back into Cancer. So he'll be in Ashlesha and then he will finally leave. Um, the sign of Cancer. And so, again, because his transits are typically 12 full transit, so you can think about similar themes. It won't be exactly the same because we don't have the exact same planetary energies and placements when Jupiter was in Cancer, but that can give you a little bit of an idea of oh, I remember like this area of my life was feeling very expansive. Or, oh, I made these like really big decisions and changes where I haven't thought about that for maybe, 11 years. And now it's all of a sudden such a focal point. I will say that since I'm shooting this before June 1st, we're already feeling those energies Jupiter is not in Cancer yet, but we're feeling this, what I've been calling bridge purgatory energy, because literally we're feeling him packing up in Gemini, in the house of Gemini, packing up, grabbing his suitcase, maybe knapsack, whatever that is, and starting to leave. And with the energy, especially with the energy of the nakshatra that he is in, this Purnavasu, it is a sign, or I should say, it is a nakshatra that is about karmic cleanup. It is about helping to resolve some of our karma and really kind of take the trash out and work through some of like this karmic baggage that we have, whether that's felt good or bad during this last year or so, because we did have Jupiter slightly dipping his toe into Cancer last year between October and the beginning of December. But so for some people, maybe it's been a little intense. It's been a little difficult um, with this Jupiter in Gemini. Again, he is the great benefic and he is a very benevolent planet, but he can also aggravate things that maybe don't feel so good. And also thinking about him as being the celestial guru. If you read like Yogananda or you read other stories where a lot of times students of gurus had to go through things to evolve for that spiritual soul evolution. We also look at Jupiter as being part of our spirit, being a part of our spiritual body. And he's also connected to our breath and Akasha and space. So all of these themes are happening, and we're really feeling Jupiter wrap up his time in Gemini, where he won't be in Gemini for another 12 years. So he's like, okay, I gotta make sure that I am doing my job here, that I'm helping you evolve. I know for me and just my placement, it has been intense. And there have been moments where I've really had to dig deep and be like, okay, what are the lessons here? What am I here trying to learn? And so, like I said, he's still in Purnavasu. He will be in Purnavasu until June 18th, 19th, depending on where you are. But he has been transiting in Purnavasu for 10 months. I think if I had it correctly, I think he started, yeah, so 10 months ago, what he started transiting in Purnavasu and which is mostly encased in Gemini. But for these 10 months where he did one pass, he stuck his toe in Cancer and then he retrograded back into Gemini. He has fully been in that nakshatra of Purnavasu. So if you have had any personal planets there or really important aspects, it has been very pivotal. And I know people have been going through a lot right now, and that is because we're feeling this bridge, right? We're feeling he's like, okay, I gotta get everything. So Purnavasu um, is a nakshatra that is all about return of the light, and it comes after Ardra, which is seen as the teardrop. So Ardra is the storm. And then after the storm is Return of the Light of Purnavasu. And Purnavasu is also a nakshatra. If we just give you a little bit deeper knowledge of Vedic astrology. So all nakshatras are ruled by different planets. And the planet that Purnavasu is ruled by is Jupiter. So we've been getting amplified. It's like Jupiter times two if we think about it. So there's been a mixture of this Mercury Jupiter energy with him still being in Gemini, and then once he goes into the sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, we'll have more of a moon Jupiter energy. So moon with Jupiter times two. And so Purnavasu is all about renewal. It's all about returning. There are connections to Lord Ram and the story of Lord Ram and Sita and how Lord Ram was exiled for a little bit and then um, with the help of Hanuman, was able to come back, rescue Sita, and come back and rule his kingdom. This is a nakshatra that is connected to movement and time. It is connected, a symbol for this nakshatra is the quiver of like a bow and arrow. But this nakshatra is very much connected to time and divine timing and knowing that everything is happening in divine timing, even if you are frustrated. And that's where the mental side, this Jupiter in Gemini, has been harder, has been more intense because it is bringing more frustration and it's bringing a lot of frustration into our head. Um, and so we've been really spun up in the head. And then when Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, we will be back to body, back to heart space. And so again, it's having faith. This nakshatra is all about having faith that you let go of that arrow and that arrow is going to land where it needs to. Because with this nakshatra, even though you have to go and do things, I'll say more than once, typically, and that's the energy we've been feeling, the energy of, okay, I thought I did everything I needed to do. Oh, wait, I didn't do it exactly right this first time, but on the second time or, afterwards, more times, okay, I'm getting it right. Um, like I can tell you a story, right? Many things that have happened to me, but also, for example, I have a friend and she was ready to open her office. And they're like, okay, we have a date. We have on the date on the calendar to celebrate this momentous occasion. And then something came up where they had to renovate certain things in their office that happened due to the weather, due to a storm, right? And so, oh, we have to move this. Actually, this isn't the exact right time. This isn't divine timing because now we need to move this. And so she was able to have her open house, but she knew she was going to have it, right? There was faith there, but this is where exact moment of Purnavasu, Jupiter being like, "Hey, I'm sorry. Like you have to go through a few times, a few tries before you get it right." But once you get it right, it lands. And so it's having that faith that this will land exactly where you want it to go, even if you don't aim it just right. That is the amazing thing with this nakshatra is that when you let go of the arrow, but that's the thing you have to do. You have to let go of the arrow. And sometimes that is really hard to let go of things. And that is also what this bridge time is all about. This bridge time between Gemini and Cancer is all about letting go so that you can be in divine timing and you can make sure that your arrow goes where it needs to go even if you don't have complete confidence in it, even though you're like, well, maybe the wind might blow and it might go off course. No, you just need to let that arrow go, let things go, and know that that arrow will land exactly where it needs to for you and have faith that that arrow will come back because of that energy of return here. The arrow is always going to come back. Um, this energy of this nakshatra, a lot of is the energy of having a home base, having a headquarters, that you're always going to come back to that home base. Like that arrow is always going to come back to you in your quiver. This nakshatra is all about renewal, and we're going to be feeling that renewal. And I think honestly, we're going to need the renewal in the emotional body with Jupiter being there because we have been so mentally in our heads. We have been just overthinking, overanalyzing, ruminating. Your digestion might have been off because in Chinese medicine, um, the earth element rules digestion, but the earth element is also connected to different forms of anxiety, and it's also connected to rumination. And so when we over ruminate, it can affect our thoughts and it can affect our digestion and how we're able to eat. So we will be able to really be back in the body, be back in the heart space, coming from heart energy when Jupiter moves into Cancer. And we'll find and feel that renewal. And then knowing that during every return, that every something that may feel like and ending, coming back from a journey and maybe like this feeling of starting over with like, okay, I have to do all these attempts. I have to like retry. But it's really setting us up for new beginnings, fresh starts. Because again, every ending is really a new beginning. I always talk about in the full moons, like every full moon is really a new beginning because we're letting go, we're releasing. And so, especially during this bridge time, the last few weeks of May, if you just look back retrospect, or if you're in it right now, these first, few days in June we're really letting go of a lot of things that we've been hoarding and weighing us down because that is what Jupiter is asking us to do so that we can have fresh starts, so that we can have creativity again, so that we can feel safe again in the sign of Cancer, that idea of safety, so that we can just feel really good. And with this sign, with this nakshatra of Purnavasu, there has been a lot of searching and seeking and going out of ourselves. Again, this Lord Ram going on a journey. And then as we get to the tail end of Purnavasu, it's the return. It's that return of the light after the storm, knowing that it is a new day and the sun will shine again. And so it's coming back to ourselves. This has been a lot of okay, maybe while Jupiter has been in Gemini, it's been a lot of like a lot more communication and talking to people about like advising and information and getting advice. And now you're like, okay, well, what do I actually need to do for me to feel safe when he's now in the Cancer side of things? And so you're, and when he moves into Pushya starting on the 18th, 19th of June, there will be less energy of the searching and the seeking and being on a mission and going on a journey and going outside of ourselves. Where now it's more about, okay, we went on this journey and now we're returning. We're returning to our home base. We're returning to our comfort. We're returning to ourselves. We're reconnecting with ourselves and reconnecting with our own energy and limitless resources that we have. Another thing that has been another symbol for this nakshatra of Purnavasu is a circle. And again, it has to do with time, divine timing, that things in life and our souls are not linear, that this is all about growth and evolution and it's cyclical. So there might have been energies that you've been feeling with this. I will say the deity for Purnavasu is the 12 solar deities or the Aditis. And they are gods and goddesses of abundance. They are seen as the sky goddesses, and they have this energy of abundance. And so, because Jupiter is there, he wants to bring that abundance, but it might be through, again, these returning, this like these learnings that we've had to go through. And sometimes, it's maybe you felt like you haven't been supported or you haven't seen that support again with Gemini being so spun up. But now that um, Jupiter is going to be on the Cancer side of things, you may be feeling it more. You may really be like, wow, oh, all these people were supporting me and I had no idea that they were here, right? With the Aditis. But and this is also um connected with nature. This is a nakshatra very much connected to nature because it is when nature is the happiest. So after a storm that is very clearing, so we've been again doing all this karmic cleanup after a storm because Purnavasu comes after that Ardra storm energy that we've had to do all this cleanup. And so nature is actually the happiest post-storm because it's like, oh my gosh, the storm cleared out what was no longer serving us, what was no longer serving nature. And now, like, that's when the birds are chirping, that's when animals are playing. Like, if we think about it, before a storm, they are sensing that and they are hiding, or they're looking for hiding places, right? And then in a storm, they're hunkering down. And then after the storm, they reemerge. Um, so very much similar to spring energy, right? We're in spring, we're growing, which we're still currently in. We're growing and we're moving, and there is growth, there is expansion there. And so we're seeing that with this nakshatra mirrored with the the routines and the rhythms of nature. Wrap up talking about Purnavasu. This is connected to the celestial lineage that is called the Inspirer or to inspire. So it has a lot of very inspiring energy. It's just that we've been feeling it over 10 months. And so it's just been like, okay, I'm inspired. Like, what's next? What's next? And Jupiter and Purnavasu has been like, yeah, but I'm inspiring you, but you didn't exactly get it right, or like you haven't fine-tuned it right. So we've been feeling a lot of that energy. And so I will say, the last few days, if you have Purnavasu in your chart or you just like want to harness more of this Purnavasu energy for until Jupiter moves into Pushya, then maybe you want to connect with Durga, you want to connect with Lakshmi, you want to connect with Saraswati, or you want to connect with the Aditis in general, the deity for this nakshatra. So until about June 17th, 18th, 19th, depending on where you are, again, we're going to be feeling um, the changes with the themes. We'll be moving from Return of the Light to Pushya. We'll be moving from Purnavasu to Pushya. And Pushya, like I alluded to earlier, is the nourisher, is the nurturer. It is the nakshatra that is in the middle of Cancer. So fully encompassed in Cancer. We are fully in our emotional body. We are fully, Jupiter is like, I fully want to help you work on your emotional body. No more of this like, hey, I was here and then I packed my bags and went back to Gemini and we worked on the mental body. And gave you that clues. Now we're like fully encased in the sign of the moon that needs a lot of movement, right? With those waves, the moon is moving, is in every nakshatra, is in a different nakshatra every night. And the moon is changing signs every 2.5 days. It is the quickest moving planet that we have in our solar system. And it is also the one that affects us so much with where it is. And we're seeing that. We see that get represented in the water. So maybe you're getting more connected to water energy. Maybe you're getting more connected to the color white, which is a color connected to the moon. Maybe you're getting more connected to Archangel Gabriel, who is an archangel that is connected to the water element, or any of those gods or goddesses or ascended masters that are connected to water. And Gabrielle is known for helping to clear and help us with our emotions and typically sits on the left side of us in the Merkaba. I call it the Merkaba of love. So again, we have Pushya, which is this nakshatra is helping us feel nourished. How can we be more nourished? How can we be more of a nurturer? His meaning is the nourisher, the nurturer, or yielding. It also can be translated to flowers and flowering. We'll come back to that in a minute. And there's also connotated to um, prosperity, the most prosperous, or auspicious, connotations to auspicious. And this is actually the nakshatra where Jupiter is feeling the most expansive, is feeling the most growth here. And so the main symbol for this is actually a cow's udder. And that is because in the Vedic system, cows were seen as very auspicious symbols. And the milk and the udder is the one that yields the milk. And the milk is what was really feeding the calf that nurturing energy. And so it is also seen in Ayurveda how helpful milk can be, that nectar can be, especially with certain recipes that they have. Um, and so it is how the cow is freely giving of her milk to the calf and other areas of the realms, and it is helping with all existences on all planes, and it is helping to bring that prosperity, abundance, really help bring resources, right? This is a sign and area of the zodiac about resources. Culture also has a little like, and you'll notice with the sign of Cancer, because the moon is the happiest in Taurus, especially if you know the mythology. But the moon is very happy in Taurus. So we see themes here of agriculture and Taurus energy. Again, with nurturing energy, the second house is about all the food that we take in and food that is nurturing after we are born. And so we see that play out here with the mother um, or mother figures nurturing all areas of the planet and the world, but also nurturing the young through the food, through the milk, which second house is seen as things that we put in our mouths or consume, things that come in and out of our mouths. And so cows in the Vedic system are also seen as a universal sign of motherhood. They're seen as these creators and these like all giving symbols that are helping to bring in this like mothering, nurturing energy. Because they are so connected to motherhood and goddesses of motherhood in this idea of nurturing, they also are very connected to the feminine. And feminine goddesses and Shakti. So we will see that being more of a play with Jupiter here. And again, Jupiter being a benefic, showing growth, it's going to amplify that. And these themes are going to come out more. And how maybe, again, because in Ayurveda, we look at food as medicine, food as something that is nurturing us, food as something that when it comes into the body, I talk a lot about how one of the quickest ways to go through and help bring the body back into alignment is through food. Is through food. Like, for example, when I found out that I had an intolerance to certain foods like dairy, uh, that is finding out like, oh, milk products are not nurturing to me. Milk products are not helpful for me. And so it's how you can actually heal the body by knowing what foods are for you and what foods are not for you. And that is something that may come up with this, connection to agriculture in this nakshatra, but also because this nakshatra is connected to life force and life force energy and vitality, and we get a lot of energy from our food. So it might be coming up more in the news about food and how food is sourced. And are we eating the right foods? Are these foods nurturing, nourishing? Are we sitting in a kitchen? Are we sitting, like, how are we preparing foods? Like, maybe we need to change our environment, or maybe we need to change what we're listening to when we're cooking foods. Maybe we need to set a nice table when we're eating the food so that we can feel supported. We can feel like a mother is giving us, or a friend or our beloved is giving us this big hug, and we are feeling so safe. And so that is going to be a big theme coming up, especially after June 18th, all the way until August 18th, those 2 months when Jupiter is hanging out in Pushya. Another symbol for this nakshatra is a wheel. So again, but that shouldn't be surprising as Jupiter is transiting in the sign of the moon, and so always needing that movement. The water is always moving. The water is not stagnant, especially like stagnant water energy is very much more a Scorpio thing. But when we look at this nakshatra, it's happening in Cancer and the whole sign of Cancer, right? And so Cancer is more like a stream in nature. It's moving. It's not like Pisces where it's completely the ocean and it's given itself to liberation and freedom. This is much more like, okay, like a stream and nature, and I'm connecting with all these things. As the stream is moving, it's connected to waterfall energy. The water is constantly moving, the water is clearing us. So we're feeling that here with this movement of, and also it being connected to circles, another symbol, but also another representation is circular things, curvy things. Again, the earth is round, the moon is round, a cow's udder has that circular energy. So we're going to be seeing that and seeing those themes come up. Or maybe if you have some Pushya planets, or you have Pushya energy in your chart, that's already something that has played out your whole life, and now it's getting even more amplified during this time. But then also another representation or symbol is flowers and flowering. And I love that Jupiter is actually going to be transiting Pushya, this sign or this nakshatra of the flowers and flowering, and he is giving this expansion when we go through summer equinox, or sorry, summer solstice, I should say. And I love that because this is the time in nature that is when the flowers are fully in bloom, or they have like, spring, they shot up and now they're blooming, right? And we go through this whole time where they're going to be flowering and blooming, and we're going to see that during this time with nature, with Jupiter. And Jupiter is like giving this, hey, I want to help you grow. I want to help you bloom. I want to help you expand in this time, in this area of the zodiac of flowering. And so the deity for this nakshatra is Brihaspati, and that is another way to say Jupiter. But he is seen as, again, the celestial. Here, he is specifically seen as the celestial guru, the celestial priest, the celestial chief and advisor to the gods. So we will be seeing, maybe this time you're going to be getting a lot of advice that has to do with your emotional body, depending on where things are. Maybe you're going to be advising other people more than you would be. Maybe you're taking in the wisdom from Jupiter, and he is helping you move through different areas of your life, and he is helping to give that wisdom. And or maybe, we might be hearing more about religion, more about spirituality in general. With this Brihaspati, this Jupiter energy, even though Jupiter is no longer ruling this nakshatra, this is ruled by Saturn, we can still see in the news, it play out, or like in the collective, in humanity, where, or maybe you're curious about, priests or religion or certain things that have these themes. Maybe it's not exactly that, but those themes. And then this is also where, again, we're feeling safe and we're feeling completely safe because we're completely in the sign. Jupiter is completely in the sign of Cancer. So we're feeling that energy of feeling safer on the one hand, but also this nakshatra has very protective instincts, very protective energy because it is the mother, that cow, the representation of the cow and motherhood and mother's instinct. But also this nakshatra is all about kindness. So maybe we'll be seeing more acts of kindness during this time, this expansion of how can we be kinder to ourselves? How can we be kinder to our heart space? How can we be kinder in so many different ways? But also maybe we're seeing as we interact with people, and instead of being a little bit more or a lot more in the mental body like we were before, now we're in a much more grounded place. And so maybe we'll be seeing people like open doors or just give people smiles and be friendlier than when it was so, more self-focused, more focused on the polarities of the masculine and the feminine within ourselves. It was very self-focused in that way with that Gemini energy, but just splitting all around that Vata energy, which is very different than the sign of Cancer that does not have so much Vata energy. And this might also be where people are really hungering for more community growth and community and family. Maybe you're getting back to family because, again, Cancer is also, as the fourth house energy, has that private life aspect. And so maybe you'll be getting and having more connections with family than you did before. Really focus on being around family and that idea of what a family looks like, whether, it's blood family or like your DNA family or family that you've created. So that community and village that you're really trying to harness. Because again, the sign of Cancer is helping us to get rooted and find our foundation and it's a very traditional sign. It's a cardinal sign, right? It's a sign about traditions. And so that is something we will definitely be feeling here. It is also, this nakshatra is also a nakshatra with strong ethics. And so I'm saying that, but I'm also saying that with the caveat that depending on how Jupiter starts playing out in the collective in your lives, we might be seeing the higher or the lower expression. This might be showing you, oh, I thought someone had really strong ethics. I thought they had the same ethics that I have, only to discover, maybe you're finding out the truth, you're understanding that, or maybe your ethics have changed from certain situations, maybe from that karmic cleanup you did in Punravasu, the ethics are changing. This is also a nakshatra where it's easy because it is connected to that comfort and good food. It's really easy to put on some weight. So luckily we do have Saturn helping us, as Saturn is the ruler. He's, all about restriction and constriction and consistency and really making sure we're taking right action. And he is the servant of the zodiac. He is all about serving others. So we'll feel that service aspect being amplified by Jupiter being there. So maybe you'll be serving, maybe you'll be donating more, maybe you'll be donating your time, maybe you'll be volunteering more. when Jupiter is there. But again, because Jupiter is in this nakshatra of Pushya, just notice over the summer months, over that June, July into the beginning of August, it might be you might have a tendency to overeat more because Jupiter is like, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. So, oh my gosh, I can go back as many times as I want to, right? And like fill up our plate. So that's where again, asking for Saturn's help, asking for Saturn's influence to help, okay, like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, but I'm only gonna go once. Or okay, I remember where I like really went ham on this buffet, and now I actually am gonna pick things that I like instead of like, you know, going for every single meal. So just know that this is an area of the zodiac that it's easy to put on weight because you just feel so comfortable. Or like, you're at the table and mom made all these amazing foods and you're like, oh my gosh, well, I'm not gonna see my mom for a minute. Um, so I need to just like eat as much as I can. So again, I'm going to give you permission while Jupiter is in the sign that you are not a part of the clean plate club. You do not have to. So just be mindful about your choices when it comes to food. But again, getting that movement in because water likes movement, getting your qigong, getting your walks in, maybe you're walking near a body of water, other things just help move that energy and help especially because sometimes there can be times when we are feeling a certain emotion and then we comfort ourselves with food. So really just being a little bit more cognizant of that while Jupiter is transiting this nakshatra and transiting the sign. This is also a time where we might see some bronchial things, some coughs. And again, because Jupiter is there and he is hanging out in our heart space, but above the heart is the chest. And I know a lot of people have actually had coughs during this bridge time, this May to June time. And that's not surprising, right? Because Gemini is seen as the natural third house, and the third house is the chest and it is the arms and the hands. And so, with Jupiter sitting there in that karmic cleanup, he is trying to get it out of you. And so, with him in the chest area, in the heart and the chest area, he's still trying to get that out to help you feel more comfortable, but at the time it could bring some discomfort up. So, and in Chinese medicine, we see that a lot of grief is actually held in the chest. So we might be actually feeling that a lot of grief is coming up, but and it's all to help us, but at the time it doesn't feel great. So I will say if you're like properly taking care of yourself and working through your emotions and the emotional body, it's going to be helpful because a lot of times we get, or I should say more helpful, because a lot of times we get sick when we are trying to avoid or we don't even realize something is there. And that's when the body is like, hey, I just wanted to remind you that actually I've been here. Or maybe there is something that has come up from 12 years ago that you thought you put to bed, and Jupiter's like, hey, actually, this like these parts and pieces that you never really dealt with, now is the time that I want you to deal with them. So it might be a good time to again do some like limb movements, do some qigong, maybe work with certain essential oils like peppermint and rosemary. That's going to really help move the energy and help with any allergies or coughs or things that are coming up. And interesting to note that in Chinese medicine, they don't think of allergies as something you're allergic to. When we are having an allergic like response, it's typically because one of the major organs or organ systems is out of balance. And so it's bringing in something that we cannot tolerate. And so that's why we're like, oh, I'm allergic to something when really maybe there's an emotion or something coming up in one of the other organ systems and it's mimicking an allergy response when really it's just that out of balance. Um, we also may be hearing more about politics and politicians and a religion during this time. Again, just because of the themes of this nakshatra. But the good news, I will say, moving from that, the good news is from we were in that time, like I said, of really overthinking, of over ruminating, and now Jupiter moving into Pushya will, and especially in Cancer, we will have more of the themes. This has more of like quick thinking, of a quickness of mind and body. And so maybe, and also really in relation to trade and business. So again, we might be hearing more about that. Um, but that will be nice from before where maybe you were ruminating and you're really thinking about and really obsessing. About certain things with your business, if you have a business, or in business, if you're in a company that you're at, there's been a lot of things that you guys have been waffling about or overthinking, but it was because of that Jupiter in Gemini, and now Jupiter in Pushya is going to be like, okay, no, like let's make some quick decisions. I'm feeling really good about this. I'm feeling like we have all the information and the answers now, and let's move forward. And so we're going to be seeing that and feeling that come up during this time. So then we have around August 18th, we have Jupiter moving into Ashlesha. And he moves into Ashlesha, and he will be in Ashlesha until October 31st of this year. And then next year, we will get the last part of Jupiter in Cancer and Jupiter retrograding back into Ashlesha and finishing it up in 2027. And so this is a nakshatra ruled by Mercury. So we'll get Moon, Jupiter, Mercury energy here with Ashlesha. And this is a nakshatra that has a lot of serpent, naga energy. It's very much connected to the serpent. So it has a very different flavor. Again, because Cancer is the emotional body. The moon is also related to, in Ayurveda, has some ties to mental energies as well. That's also why, if we think about it, um, there is not just with this nakshatra, but there is where sometimes emotions really affect our mental body, right? And we see that in Ayurveda, but we also see that with mythology, in Hindu mythology, with the moon, being a relation, being connected to Mercury, and Mercury coming from the moon in the mythology. And so we see that play out quite a bit. And so with this nakshatra, it is amplified more because this is a nakshatra ruled by Mercury, and it is in the sign of Cancer. And then Jupiter is expanding that energy, like we talked about, the expansion. And so here we really want to look at what we can learn and take from serpents, the nagas, so and snakes. And last year or last year, 2 years ago at this point, we were in the year of the snake, and there was a lot of learnings from snake medicine and snake energy. And we are really all like we are all nakshatras, we are all of the Chinese zodiac. It's all within us, just like we are all the five elements, but we have more dominant we have like a more dominant animal. Like we're in the year of the horse, right? And then next year we'll be in a different animal. And so, and this year we're in the year of the fire horse, right? And so this energy is playing out while Jupiter is in Ashlesha, of this coming back to the learnings that we received from the energy of the snake. And so this is where, snakes are much more connected to the ground. They see things from the ground. So this might be helping to give us a different perspective of things. There is also, when we think about snakes, we don't always think good things, right? We think about them being coiling, them being clinging, them being like sneaky or creepy or wily, or that they're cold-blooded, that they're deceptive. All of those themes are coming up, that they're poisonous, that they're creatures. So that's going to come up more. But there's also beauty of the Nagas, which is seen as half man, half snake, half reptile. But there's also beauty in these divine creatures, and there's also wisdom that we can learn. They have great primordial powers of insight, so intuition and different perception and wisdom. And, there is like sensuality to them. So that will be playing out more and will be coming up while Jupiter is in, especially from August to October, and then again in 2027. And so, but there are beautiful things and words that come from this nakshatra, like doctors, maybe something that comes up or is in the news more. Death and rebirth, again, that energy of shedding and letting go. But also a delusion is another word that comes from Ashlesha. So there might be like, hey, this is a time to watch out for this, or oh, this thing was really diluted and we just found out about it. Um, and so again, it may be time where you just think about snake energy, and there's also a lot of healing that happens from this nakshatra, and this nakshatra talks a lot about and has themes of healing through the venom of the snake, or healing through whatever your poison is, or heal it like that venom, that little bit of venom actually makes healing abilities, and it creates amazing medicine. So whatever you may discover, whatever your venom or your little bit of poison is, that is actually coming in to bring in healing. Like I ate the other day, I was just thinking about this while I was looking at Ashlesha, and I ate something that I wouldn't normally eat, and it really, like, my body was really not excited that I ate this, but I ate it. And during the time of being in the shadows, like Ashlesha is underworld in the shadows, has that connection and connotation, it really gave me some beautiful insights. So even though it was not the best thing for me, it gave me so much healing, and then I was able to make decisions and understand where I needed to go on my path. So there is that beauty to this nakshatra. And there's also a principle with the African tribe where it there is a saying with one of the African tribes. I can't remember their name, but they talk about how we all have gifts, we all have abilities, and how when we keep the gifts so close to us, so close in, and we don't feel comfortable sharing them, we're actually poisoning ourselves, and that is what's making us sick. And so I will say, with the themes of this nakshatra, it is, I feel like one message is telling you to speak and share your truth, to share your gifts with others, and that will be medicine for other people, and that will help you remove the venom, remove the poison, so that you are not sick. And so I just think that is beautiful thing that maybe will be much more of a focus during this time, during this nakshatra. If we think about snakes being protectors of treasure, but also having a tendency to hoard things. So this might be a time where we hoard emotional energies. We are hoarding our emotions. We are being a little bit more selfish and not for the collective. So this might be a time when you maybe want to be like, hey, I realize that I have these tendencies and I need to heal that and let that go. Like, why am I actually holding on to all the abundance, all that, the universe, God, Mother Nature wants to give me, and I am you know, not not letting that go, not sharing that with others. Also, can be a time where we're feeling a little bit lazier, when we're feeling a little bit more indulgent, again, coming off of the Pushya energy, when we're feeling a little bit more stagnant. So again, a remedy for that is going to be coming back to movement. Getting, taking baths, taking showers, connecting with the water element, that's going to help move the energy so it's not getting stuck. It's going to help you to remove the layers, like the snake removing his skin. And then this nakshatra is the beginning of Kundalini. So I would not be surprised if we saw quite a bit of Kundalini awakenings, if we heard a lot more about Kundalini, if you got more interested in Kundalini, again, because Jupiter is a teacher. He is the great teacher. And so we might be seeing more Kundalini yoga being talked about or taught. We might be understanding more about Kundalini, the Kundalini Shakti. Again, Kundalini is snake and serpent energy, and it is coiled at the base of the root chakra, but then it moves through the sacral and it moves up. And so as we uncoil, as we have experiences, as we heal, as we're working to heal ourselves, more Kundalini comes up. We can see more okay, so Jupiter will be during eclipse season, Jupiter will be in Ashlesha for part of eclipse season, um and so that is a very potent and amplified time where I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you heard a little bit more, especially if you're in the energy space, you're hearing more about Kundalini awakenings. And so, this is a time to look at this energy and see what it is trying to teach you. It's a very powerful, it's very potent, it's very creative, but it can also be really activating. So this might be a time where people are wanting to start work with healers or energy workers to help them move through this Kundalini, this very intense primordial energy that is related to this nakshatra. So Kundalini again starts in Ashlesha and it wraps up. If we look at the zodiac in the Vedic system, the nakshatras, it wraps up in Uttara Bhadrapada, which we previously had Saturn in, and Saturn will go back into later in this year. As he is currently moving through Revati and Saturn is hanging out in Jupiter's sign of Pisces. We will definitely be going through and experiencing a lot with this Jupiter energy in Cancer. I cannot wait to hear how this Jupiter transit is treating you. I will say you will probably not be the same person you are when we start this Jupiter transit in June of this year. But so many amazing things to come. This Jupiter energy is here to help us again find that safety, that comfort in the emotional body. And it's also a time to know that you are resourced, to know that you have tools, even if that tool is just reaching out to someone and having a healing conversation, or a physical touch may be something that comes in. Maybe you just need a healing hug or you just need a comforting hand. I always say that is an exchange of energy. That is an exchange of Reiki healing energy as a Reiki master. So this might be a time when, again, with Jupiter moving through Cancer, you are looking to heal yourselves on the emotional body, the emotional level as well. So hands-on healing might be something that starts coming into your life, or or is something that continues to be a part of your life, whether you go through a training or you just receive it, or maybe you're hearing more about it. So, again, so many beautiful things coming. It's a really exciting time. I'm excited for this because uh, Jupiter's fast-moving energy in Gemini has been a lot. We have really been feeling it, and so I think we are all looking for ways that we can feel safe as we move through our lives, but also ways where we feel comforted and, you know, like when we were in the mother's womb, right? When we were just feeling so supportive in those primordial waters. So that's something that we'll come back to during this time. So good luck, and I look forward to seeing you either in session if you're coming in for one of the many offerings that I have, or if you're coming in to learn more about your karma and your astrology, I'd love to help you there. And so I look forward to seeing you in the next video, or maybe in person or virtually.